Hello, and welcome to V2V Podcast Survivor Series. Today we are going to be taking an in-depth look into Diamond Ranch Academy and dissecting what they claim to be as to what we think they are.
We're not just claiming who they are, we're letting Diamond Ranch Academy tell people who they are in their own words. Here we go. Diamond Ranch Academy is a residential treatment center and so-called therapeutic boarding school in Hurricane, Utah. It serves adolescents with, it should be said that the stuff I'm reading here and talking about comes directly from their Wikipedia page. So it's important to understand that, again, this is not advocacy. These are their own words. So they claim to treat various issues, including ADHD, predominantly inattentive ADHD, like, the kids that just don't appear to be listening in class, using what they call real life transition program, which we'll get into later. Because what is that? That's some lingo that really doesn't mean anything. Real life transition program, but it's important to kind of put a pin in that. That includes peer participant judicial system, which uses citations, fines, and an appeal process. And you're familiar with this stuff.
Very.
And there's an emphasis on participants solving, quote, real life problems. And they enroll people between the ages of 12 and 18 plus. It's, I think that girls max out at 18 and boys are 18 and older. So this place was founded in Boise, Idaho in 1999 by a guy named Rob Diaz and later moved to Utah, where it is now outside of the town of Hurricane. And that's really what we're getting into, not necessarily where they were, what they did in the past, because we're focusing on places that are now currently open and operating. So their motto is healing families one youth at a time. And their education programs are accredited by the Northwest Accreditation Commission. We can also get into what they're about too. It's not necessarily because I'll just pause for a second, because sometimes people hear like, oh, it's an accredited institution. And that may mean less than some people think it means. It's an outside body that says, yes, this school is following particular guidelines that are set out so that kids can actually get an education.
Regardless of the fact that the outside body can also be, made up of the inside body.
It doesn't necessarily mean that the institution is always following those practices, too. And that's another thing that we're going to kind of explore about the education part of this place. So that's kind of who they are, briefly. And we're talking about kids with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. But, and this is a fact, Diamond Ranch Academy is not a mental health facility, and they're not licensed or qualified as a mental health facility. So right off the bat, there's a big red flag, because in their own words, they're saying, hey, we can help your kid with this mental disorder, a medical diagnosis. So that should be a big warning. And they also claim to treat drug addiction as well. So it's a really broad scope that they're saying that they will cover. It sounds like something that if it was presented in the right way to a worried parent, they might, say, oh, well, that sounds pretty reasonable. But as we go on, we'll see that really isn't the case. They go on to say, at the treatment center, this is in quotes, this is their language. Students experience a normal, safe, structured high school experience without the negatives of public school. This is a boast on their website. And then according to an admissions counselor named Sean Elsmore, who still works there, and we'll get into his background a little bit too. He claims that 60 to 70% of the students graduate from the academy, and the average stay is between 10 and 12 months long, with less than 5% of those who graduate returning because they have, quote, relapsed. Now, that doesn't sound like a school to me. So far, it sounds like they're holding themselves out to be some kind of drug treatment center. Costs $7,000 a month, and enrollment varies, but typically there are anywhere between 150 and 200 students enrolled at any given time, both girls and boys. There's more information that they want to present about themselves, about their application process. So they say that there are several factors that will help determine if Diamond Ranch Academy is right for you. So what they're doing here, this tactic that they're employing right now is they're trying to show that they're somewhat exclusive, or picky about who might be even qualified to come in. It kind of gives them an allure of something that maybe isn't reachable for.
It also kind of gives the illusion that they have specialists who will sort of figure out what is correct for your child and who know exactly what's right for your child, In
admissions, right, admissions.
Yeah.
It's so important, right? The front door to this place. When we get into who actually is kind of at that front door determining if you're qualified or if DRA is right for your child, you might be surprised. They say the average length is 10 to 12 months. Monthly rates range from $6,000 to $12,500 a month, and is typically private pay, meaning no insurance. They're presenting this idea that this is the best thing going. They even call themselves a premier. It just kind of makes me sick when I say these things, but they call themselves the premier boarding school in America. And then they ask about commitment. Are you able to commit to this? About working together to determine whether these words are so important because these are their words. They say, first we work together to determine whether or not Diamond Ranch Academy is a good fit for your son or daughter. We are very selective in the students we admit to our school in order to ensure that they have a great experience, as well as the best likelihood for success after returning home or going on to college. Right there, it kind of undermines what they claim to be about. So if they're dealing with so-called troubled teens, but they only say they want the ones that they can help, well, how do they determine that, right? And I think the answer, we just touched on it, it's whether or not you can afford $10,000 a month to enroll your kid there. I highly doubt that they're going to turn away someone with those kinds of deep pockets.
Now, do they have any type of scholarship program or sort of thing for underprivileged kids who might want to go there?
They have an asterisk telling people to contact an admissions counselor to discuss payment options. So you can mortgage your house.
Oh yeah.
If you're lucky enough to own a home, you can mortgage your home and be paying off Diamond Ranch Academy for 20 years. Mm-hmm. If your child's needs are beyond our scope of expertise, which I think is an important word, that expertise, we will refer you to the appropriate professionals. Now, who might that be? I have no idea. They're claiming to be all these things, this comprehensive program, to help these teens who are in distress, parents, distraught over their, I guess, misbehaving kid or kid who isn't listening or whatever the case might be.
Mm-hmm.
When I think about teenagers, I really am having a hard time differentiating between normal teenage behavior and the type of kids they're trying to describe here, because if a kid is, quote, that bad, they say they want to send that child to a more qualified professional. So, but they want to let you know that you can feel free to contact us at any time as you go through the website or as you complete the application. We're here to help. The last thing we want to let people know is that Diamond Ranch Academy isn't for everyone. Not everyone who applies is accepted. We only accept students we strongly believe we can help. That is kind of the beginning, the introduction of who these people say they are.
Yes.
The next area that I kind of want to get into briefly, it's the Utah state requirements for residential programs. Now, these are the rules that schools like this and facilities like this are supposed to abide by. There's not a federal standard. Each state makes up their own rules for how schools in their state function. In Utah, it says that residential programs in the state of Utah are required to employ a manager who will oversee the day-to-day resident supervision and facility operations, and a CPR certified staff member must be available at all times. All staff, volunteers, and employees will be screened and given a background prior to working with the residents or within the facility.
Okay.
Professional staff should include a licensed physician, a licensed psychologist, and a licensed mental health professional, and any unlicensed staff will be supervised by a licensed clinical professional at all times. So if we want to break that down a little bit, what it says, in layman's terms, is that there needs to be, now, when they talk about staff, they mean people that are on site. They mean people that are working there.
Right.
There should be a doctor, a psychologist, and a mental health professional at all times on site. This is for parents who are being sold the idea that sending their kid here is a good idea. What we're doing is using their own information to show anybody who is ever considering sending their kid to this place in particular or one of these facilities in general that it's a really, really bad idea, and that it's not something that you ever want to do. You don't have to speculate about why these aren't good places to send anybody. Like, they're going to do it for us. All residential facilities are required to maintain a minimum ratio of 1 staff to every 4 residents at all times during the daytime. However, night staff may be reduced depending on the size of the facility. Now, and that's because at night, generally speaking, people are sleeping. Staff in residential facilities will have a separate living space from the residents, and all male and female living quarters will be separate and supervised. So if staff lives there, they can't live with the kids. A single bedroom may house up to 4 residents or 2 with disabilities. That's interesting because the disabilities part is pretty broad. Disability can certainly be a mental health issue. All residential facilities and treatment centers in Utah must be up to date on all safety and building health codes. get into meals. They must be approved by a registered dietitian. And all facilities are required to note and accommodate the special nutritional needs or allergies of the resident consumers. These kids are really customers. You know, the parents are customers of this service that's being provided.
It's the product. The parents are the customers.
Oh, well, sure. That may be how things actually operate.
Yeah.
But in the real world, like if I'm a resident somewhere and I'm paying for it through my parents, you know, and you're giving me bad food or food that doesn't meet my nutritional requirements or my dietary requirements, you know, that's a problem. And even the wording, resident consumers, like they're consuming the food. You have to treat people well. Like that's all it's really saying. It goes into, you know, storing hazardous chemicals and medication in a proper way. Only qualified staff will administer, supervise, and record medication dosage and effects, which means medical staff, not just some guy who I don't got a high school diploma or he has a business degree. Like that doesn't count, you know.
Nope.
All curriculum must be approved by the State Office of Education, as well as nationally accredited, and all teachers must be qualified in their area of instruction. So it should operate just as a normal school, a normal public school where people have licenses and degrees and they're qualified to teach in their subject. Each resident will receive an individualized treatment plan upon arrival, and it will be updated as they progress through the program. Monthly schedules will be available to both residents as well as their parents or guardians upon request. Individual treatment plans may include skills development as well as a variety of counseling options, including weekly group, couple, and family counseling sessions. So, you know, just saying that there's going to be some real therapy going on. And the people who are engaging in the therapeutic process, whether that's the parents or the students or both, they have a right to have updates and know, you know, what's going on, access to the records.
Right.
Normal stuff, like that would just as it would occur in any therapist's office, you know, outside.
Welcome to the V2V Podcast Survivor Series. Diamond Ranch Academy, Part 2, Lawsuits and Trouble.
All right, so this next section involves lawsuits and some specific trouble that Diamond Ranch Academy has faced over the years. And you may begin to see some patterns as I go through this. So get into the idea of what the trouble is with this place. A couple years ago, there was a lawsuit filed against Diamond Ranch Academy alleging that a therapist sexually groomed and assaulted a 16-year-old girl named Hannah Wilkin. She agreed to have her name on the record because she feels that it's important that she be as out front as possible to encourage other students to come forward, and it's pretty brave. So here's what happened. The lawsuit alleges that the incident occurred multiple times in April and May of 2016. So this is fairly recent. The treatment facility caters to troubled teens, according to its website. And according to the court documents, a newly licensed therapist intern assigned to providing counseling services to the 16-year-old victim used his position of power and authority to prey on Hannah Wilkin. Troy Ammon Carter is the name of the therapist. He told her minor details about his own sex life, questioned her about her own sexual history, and made inappropriate comments about her physical appearance. And additionally, the complaint states that he straddled Wilkin and unhooked her bra while providing a back massage in his office without a chiropractic license. That's an important distinction to make, that anybody on the staff who's not authorized and licensed to perform a particular act like a massage, like you have to be a massage therapist or a chiropractor to legally be able to do something like that. And he knew that. You know, you can't just start groping teenage girls. So Carter would attempt to disparage her parents in an attempt to gain her trust, and started to detail inappropriate dreams he was having about her. The windows of his counseling office were covered with brown butcher paper. Wilkins' attorney, Craig Vernon, said that the therapist used the paper to cover up the windows, to literally cover up the sexual assaults while they were happening. So, you know, if you're in a room, in a locked room or a closed room with windows and you're a therapist and you're talking to a young lady about issues she might be having, why would you not want someone to see that as happen? So you're going to put paper up on the windows.
I don't. First of all, like, if you're a program manager and you see that a young lady is being taken off to a room to talk to a male therapist, why would you accept that he has his windows taped up? Like,
it's interesting that you would say that, because the very next sentence, her lawyer says, it's very curious to me that would go unnoticed, right? Hey, where's the new therapist guy? You know, the new licensed therapist guy with who's counseling the kid, the girl. Oh, he's in his office. Oh, where's his office? Oh, the one with the paper on the window.
The problem is, though, Marcus, in this situation, there's kind of a ranking thing that goes on, where I feel like the therapist is above the unit manager.
There's a reason that happens. It's the fallacy of authority. So basically, the mindset here is that the therapist is like, look, I have a master's degree, and I have a license, and I'm a professional therapist, and I know stuff. I totally outrank you. So the manager, he has no clue regarding what's appropriate, even though he should. Like, he can kind of plead ignorance and also say that, oh, the therapist said so. So there are these power plays that occur because of a particular document or license, even though it's absolutely wrong, even though the manager is actually in charge of the therapist. These are the same ideas that made Hannah Wilkins' lawyer so curious about why that would just be considered normal. Right, so you make a good point.
Yeah, it is a fallacy of authority, because the whole thing is fallacy of authority. The entire thing, top to bottom.
So, as this kind of came down, Rick Carter was terminated in May of 2016 for inappropriate physical contact with another student. Wilkin came forward after, right? He was doing this to other kids and got fired for it, and then Hannah stepped up and said, hey, this happened to me as well. Prior to the alleged incident, DRA required Carter to sign a document pledging he would stop all physical contact with his patients. He had previously been reprimanded for inappropriate contact with multiple male students, and the lawsuit claims that the treatment center provided the perfect environment for victims to be groomed and sexually abused due to inadequate supervision and internal policies. And when we get to these people's qualifications, it will be very easy to see why this kind of thing was allowed to go on. So it goes on to say just that the DRA did nothing to protect these vulnerable girls who were isolated and far away from their families. They did nothing at all until it got to the point where they decided they had to fire Troy Carter for continuously fondling and being sexually inappropriate with boys and girls. Washington County Attorney's Office ultimately declined to file charges due to a lack of sufficient evidence. He said, she said kind of situation, because of course, the paper on the windows might have helped that. If you can't see what's going on, it looks like Diamond Ranch got rid of their problem before, because they knew about it. I mean, obviously they had him sign papers.
Right.
So they elected to get rid of him before the heat got too great, where they would become more and more liable the longer this guy was around. It doesn't need to get to this point. Like, parents, if you're listening, this stuff goes on. It's documented. It's not fiction. If you send your kid away to this place, things like this happen. And you may not know about it. It took this guy getting fired for Hannah Wilkin to be able to courage to finally be able to speak up about it, because that guy was no longer around. Oh, the year before, in 2015, a teacher there was arrested for possessing hundreds of images depicting child pornography on a personal cell phone and a computer at the school. So this guy's a piece of work. So yep. Chad Huntsman is his name, and his wife, who also worked at Diamond Ranch, were both terminated following the arrest. In February of, I think February 2017, Huntsman was sentenced to 22 and a half years in federal prison, and the charges against his wife were dismissed due to a lack of intent. They got this guy 22 and a half years in prison. This guy might be teaching your child. He might have been, that's horrific. And people might say, well, look, there are bad apples everywhere, and there are bad people everywhere. But here's the major difference. So you're spending thousands and thousands of dollars to send your kid away, far, far away from you, to a private place where you don't know these people. You can't talk to them. You don't know them. You can't drive down the street and talk to your kid's teacher. They don't live in your community. So even though there are bad people all over the place, this is extra bad because they're totally isolated from you, the parent. You have no idea.
I'm kind of speechless. But why did they? What was the thing that they let her go on?
For lack of intent.
What does that mean?
She didn't intend those pictures to be on the phone and the computer. She didn't put them there. And if these were her children and she
had ignored something going on in the house,
well,
right? Okay.
She could have been a different kind of victim in this case. So there's some other incidents that occurred. May 13, we had the suicide. Kid hung himself in the shower.
Yeah.
And following that, the facility decided to outfit all their showers with collapsible rods.
Right.
So that students could no longer kill themselves in the shower.
It's not like anyone looking into why this person did this. It's simply making it so no one can do it.
It kind of gets to the heart of something here. Again, it's easy to lose sight, I guess, kind of when you get into the weeds like this, that what this place claims to be. Yeah. Therapeutic boarding school. Dealing with mental health. They're dealing with inattentive, depressed kids. They're dealing with, or they're saying they're helping these kinds of things. So look, if a kid kills himself, that happens too, right? Like all these things that we're detailing happen in the real world. But when things like this happen at a place like this, but then to treat the problem by not doing anything beneficial for the children, it's another one of those big, giant red flags. Like, do you really want to send your kid who you think is having this much trouble to a place that doesn't care about, they care more about the look and the appearance of it being a nice place than actually treating the children that are in their care? Like, no way. The best option is to not send your kid away at all and man up and be a parent. You know, if I could throw my 2 cents in. But it really makes you wonder what isn't being discovered and what's going on right now, because that was 2016 when the girl was getting groomed to be sexually assaulted. So it's 2 years later. You know, it's time.
Yeah.
It sounds like they're due for another incident.
That's
and
true.
maybe what we're doing right now is like counter to that incident. Maybe we're the incident. You know, maybe we're like, hey, we got you now. You know, seriously. There are going to be a lot of people listening to this, and
I hope so.
It's really important that all of this information gets out there. And I think I need to take a break.
Thank you for listening to the V2V Podcast Survivor Series, Diamond Ranch Academy Part 2, Lawsuits and Trouble. Please stay tuned for Part 3, Admissions. And don't forget to give us a like and subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching. This is the V2V Podcast Survivor Series, Diamond Ranch Academy, Part 3, Regulation.
As residential boarding schools.
As residential boarding schools. No, they shouldn't be. They should be considered completely different, you know, but the stories that we constantly hear, as you know, from personal experience, and all of these abuses and mistreatment, it's real. It really happens. It's happening right now. It's happening at this place, the Diamond Ranch Academy. The truth is that Diamond Ranch Academy takes any teenager, regardless of the issues, as long as there's money involved. And the tragedy of all this is they either don't get it or don't care to get it, or have no interest in actually helping anybody, which really seems to be the truth of the matter. So I guess the bottom line with all this is that, you know, we here at V2V will continue to have Diamond Ranch Academy on our radar, or our gut feeling, based on evidence, is that something is very wrong here.
Extremely.
We get into the idea of supervision. What happens is closer to punishment. The lawyer for Diamond Ranch Academy pops up, Stephen Bangerter, and he says that the program uses restraints only when students threaten the safety of themselves or others. Quote, restraints have never been used for purposes as punishment, he said. He goes on to say that Diamond Ranch Academy does not have a notion of punishment. They don't recognize the idea of punishment there, which is kind of strange, because punishment exists. To say that you don't have a notion of it is kind of denying the fact that the concept of punishment is a thing. So it's very tricky lawyerly language here. So basically what he's saying is that whatever we do to the kids, we don't consider it punishment because we don't believe in punishment. So it gives them license to do whatever they want and then not call it punishment.
That's really sick.
It's very tricky. You know, these people are smart. They employ lawyers who who speak for them in this fashion. So he goes on to say that children alleging abuse should have talked to their therapist. They have a right to contact the child abuse hotline, and the kids have plenty of opportunities to complain. Now, that seems odd, considering what happened to the 16-year-old girl and her therapist.
Is the hotline on campus? I mean, does that line lead to someone on campus? Are you then complaining to someone on campus? Because I had that experience in Texas.
Really?
So I'm wondering, yeah.
He says they have the right to contact the child abuse hotline. It's too broad. When, where, are they being monitored? The kids have plenty of opportunities to complain. Well, we'll get into kind of what happens when kids complain. They may have the opportunity, but they may pay a pretty heavy price for complaining. So Diamond Ranch Academy's lawyers adamantly deny abuse has ever occurred on the facility. They point out that the program, along with other facilities in Utah, are regulated and inspected regularly, and to some degree, they're right. So how are they right? What does that mean? So in 2005, Utah passed a bill requiring that facilities be licensed by the state. So to keep a license, a facility must be inspected at least once a year to make sure it is abiding by state rules. For example, children ought to see a therapist at least once a week. Restraints and solitary confinement may not be used for punishment, and mail is to be sent and received freely, provided safety requirements are met. That's the heart of the bill.
Right.
So, if we want to take a closer look at that, so they have to be licensed. Diamond Ranch Academy is indeed licensed by the state. And to keep their license, they need to have a regular annual visit by somebody, inspecting something there at the facility every 365 days. So on that day, the inspector shows up and he or she looks around and everything looks great. And that inspector signs off, and it's fantastic. It's a regular annual inspection. So,
okay,
they did it right once a year. But restraints and solitary confinement may not be used for punishment. Well, we just read a statement by their lawyer that they don't believe in the concept of punishment. So,
right,
restraints and solitary confinement may not be used for punishment actually means that restraints and solitary confinement can be used for any reason we see fit.
Correct.
And then mail is to be sent and received freely. I don't know specifically about the mail, provided safety requirements are met. I imagine the state was thinking something along the lines of contraband in the mail, perhaps.
I think that their mail is monitored.
Right. That's kind of what I was about to say. That I think the state didn't mean when they wrote this that incoming and outgoing mail should be monitored. They want to make sure that contraband isn't coming in and out of the place. Or weapons, or things like that. That is kind of the regulatory bit. There's a big announcement on the inspection day, I imagine, that hey, old Joe's going to show up and put out all the fruit bowls. Now we're getting into who runs this place. Who are the people that actually are taking care of the kids? And the first stop at the Diamond Ranch Academy, of course, is intake. The parent got the fancy brochure, they got the phone call, they looked on the internet, They got their money together. They're ready to have a meeting with nice people at intake.
This has been an episode of the V2V Podcast Survivor Series, Diamond Ranch Academy. Stay tuned for Part 4, Intake and Admissions. And as always, thanks for watching. This is the V2V Podcast Survivor Series, Diamond Ranch Academy, Part 4, Admissions Staff.
Now we're getting into, who runs this place? Who are the people that actually are taking care of the kids? And the first stop at the Diamond Ranch Academy, of course, is intake. The parent got the fancy brochure, they got the phone call, they looked on the internet, they got their money together, they're ready to have a meeting with nice people at intake. So what we're going to do here is take a look at these people and who they are and their backgrounds and their work experience, and in some cases, a nice little blurb about who they are. Because in some cases, the staff, they write a little something about past experience or what they're getting out of working at Diamond Ranch. A familiar name appears immediately. Addie Diaz. Now, that's obviously a relation to the owner, Rob Diaz. I don't know if it's a daughter or a spouse, but that's really neither here nor there, but certainly related. She's a member of the intake staff, and Diaz is not a licensed mental health nor medical professional in Utah. She doesn't have that kind of experience, so isn't qualified to determine mental health issues, medical issues. She has no basis for understanding that, so it's zero. But she does have an education. And what Addie Diaz has learned is she has a Bachelor of Science in PE. She's a K through 12 PE coach. So let's get into her work experience. She was the girls soccer assistant coach at Diamond Ranch Academy. She's the girls basketball assistant coach at Diamond Ranch Academy. And she's an administrative assistant at Diamond Ranch Academy. So remember, this is an intake person.
Yes.
This is like the first person that you're going to meet when you want to send your kid here. It's rather unclear about who does specifically what, because a lot of these people have several jobs. The other, okay, here we go. Angie Kazir. She's also works in intake, admission, right? Angie attended 1 year at Dixie College, which is the local community college, and enjoyed participating in general education courses while there. As soon as possible, I enrolled in cosmetology school at Heritage Hair Academy, Hairitage Hair Academy, Heritage Hair Academy. I've always had a love for hair and creativity. I graduated from cosmetology school after completing the 2,000 required hours. I've continued my education with advanced haircutting courses and advanced hair coloring courses, and she is also CPR certified and first aid certified. Angie Kazir, and she has some work experience too. She is a certified lifeguard. She's a home salon owner. You know what? That's interesting. Home salons, like haircutting at home, is generally speaking, without a license to do that there, illegal. That's not good.
Wow.
In most cases, I mean, cosmetology is really highly regulated. I mean, it's like medical standards.
Yeah.
For haircutting stuff, because you're dealing with the human body and potential bodily fluids and things like that. Anyway, she's been a home salon owner for 13 years, and I wonder if she's got all her ducks in a row there. She's also a hairdresser at United Hairlines. Apparently she makes custom jewelry at the Tom Design Shop. And last but not least, Angie Kazir. She's an admissions counselor at Diamond Ranch Academy. You call yourself a counselor, it means something, you know? She's not an admissions assistant. She's not an admissions clerk. She's calling herself, and the school is calling her, an admissions counselor. So what that tells me is that when dear old Angie shows up with a distressed parent, perhaps, and maybe an obnoxious kid, I don't know what's going on, but when Angie shows up, she has the air of authority and professionalism because she is called an admissions counselor. Now, that's something that people take notice of. Oh, counselor. So that's worrisome.
Indeed.
It's troubling because although I'm sure she's a fine hairdresser, I see nothing in her background that has anything at all to do with working with at-risk youth or counseling or admissions. Zero. It's appropriate to take a light tone here because it's so serious.
Yeah.
These are real people taking care of maybe, if you're listening, parent of Diamond Ranch Academy child, taking care of your kid, or potential parent thinking about Diamond Ranch Academy, potentially your kid. If they were presenting the truth, I guess they are presenting the truth. So it's a matter of, you have to kind of dig into this. I did a fair amount of research to find this information out, which is all public, by the way.
Yeah.
But again, the parent who's in some kind of need of relief, appropriate relief, or a situation that they don't know how to handle, this isn't the solution with unexperienced people. So
No.
let's move on. So next we have a gentleman by the name of Danny Burchard. And Danny is not a licensed medical health nor medical professional in Utah. This is also admissions or intake.
Okay.
They call it admissions. His education, he has a Bachelor of Science degree in business management from Western Governors University. He has an Associate's of Science at Dixie State College, certified Red Cross instructor, and also something called a certified motive trainer. I never heard that term. I don't know what a motive trainer is. But apparently he's a certified motive trainer. Have you ever heard that term?
No.
I didn't get a chance to look that up, but perhaps I'll see if there's any information about what that might be. He also has some work experience. He was a communication systems analyst for the state of Florida, a vocational coordinator with reemployment services. These are the two jobs he had before Diamond Ranch Academy. And then he moved to O&A staff at Diamond Ranch Academy. Uh-oh. You know what that is?
No.
Observation and assessment. So, this is important because he is watching the new people when they come in. He's observing and assessing new students. It's called O&A now. It's a 2-week period that Diamond Ranch Academy used to refer as being homeless.
Right.
It's a really important job. It's a really important thing to be doing when you're bringing a kid into a new thing, a new environment, and you're the one who's supposed to be helping and guiding them through a particular process. He's in no way qualified to do anything of that nature at all. So that was his first job too. And then he became
Wow.
what's called head staff. And then he got promoted to assistant program director. And now he is a program director at Lava Falls, which I believe is the older boys section. So he moved up the ranks. He's running the older boys section of the school.
Wow.
Without any clear qualification to be able to do that. It's at times like this, as we're going through this, to remember all that boring stuff that we went through earlier about what the requirements are for facilities like this and the professional requirements, certifications and licenses. And so far, these are the frontline staff who have they just don't have anything to do with this field. And it's very troubling.
Yeah.
Okay, next we have Megan Hanks. Megan Hanks is a teacher. She has a Bachelor of Science degree in biology from Brigham Young. She is a certified teacher, and she's a tennis coach, and she's a private tutor, and she was a middle/high school and private tutor for 17 years. So they do have a real teacher. It makes you wonder. Now, this isn't anything negative necessarily, but it makes you wonder why Megan Hanks decided to start working here as opposed to working at a regular high school or a private tutor. She was a private tutor for 8 years and a teacher for 17. So it just, not anything bad, but it just makes you wonder, like, what's going on there? They're paying her a lot of money, perhaps. Could be. Then we have Nicole Manukai. Nicole has an Associate's of Science from Dixie State College. She has a high school diploma from Laurel High School, and she is CPR and first aid certified. It doesn't say what her degree is in. I think it's just kind of probably a general education degree. That's usually what an associate's gets you. Nicole has worked on and off at Diamond Ranch for 10 years.
Wow.
That's interesting, the on and off part. I took notice of that. Apparently she's coming and going.
Well, maybe she had a kid, though. You never know.
Could be, right. So she was work staff, kind of an entry-level staff member, and then she became a staff supervisor. And now she is an assistant. Now she's an assistant program director, which is, she's moving up the ladder too. The whole idea of program director, it sounds really important to me. If you're going to call yourself that, or that's like the title that you've earned, I would think, would have the title of something like program director would be pretty well qualified in whatever program they were directing.
Particularly in a multi-million-dollar business, or school, in itself. It's making millions of dollars a year. You would think that this person would be, like a Harvard graduate or like a doctor or something,
Right. Yeah. I mean, or at least like some kind of clinical professional or some social worker, something with
something.
You went to school for some time, or you have some like thorough education in your field. This next one is something else. So Rhonda Hafen. So her education is listed as CPR and first aid certified. Apparently she has no education other than that. I don't know why you wouldn't include your education other people have. Rhonda's work experience is really interesting considering her seeming lack of education. Her work experience is listed as an HR director.
Wow.
A vet technician. I don't get it. How can you be a vet tech or a human resources director when the only education you have is that you're CPR and first aid certified? So Rhonda has owned many businesses, from a silk shop to a candy shop. Rhonda also enjoys working part-time at a veterinary hospital as a vet technician. She enjoys pet sitting for people with pets that need extra help with meds or IV fluids. That's disturbing.
Extremely.
But the part about enjoying pet sitting for people with pets that need extra help with meds or IV fluids, is she shooting up dogs? Because that's not okay. You can't be like giving out meds to the... Where is she getting this medication from? The Valium that you give your dog is the same stuff that you take. The morphine that it's the same stuff. I
mean, we don't know exactly what she's doing. She might be doing IVs, and I think that a doctor can write off for that, can't they? To a vet.
It just seems weird. It just seems weird to me. Even if it's not exactly like illegal, the whole sentence, I enjoy pet sitting for people with pets that need extra help with meds or IV fluids. It doesn't sound like pet sitting. That sounds like medical care. And as far as I know, to give medical care to an animal, you need to be a vet. You need to be a doctor.
Right.
You can't just like, hey, no, I work part-time at the vet's office.
I know a lot about this stuff because I see it all the time at the vet's office that I work at. So I might be a good fit for your... Anyway, enough. Keep going.
So Rhonda continues. She makes some comments about Diamond Ranch Academy. And she says, there are two reasons I work for Diamond Ranch Academy. One is that I know the owners personally and have known them for 30 years. Okay? So she goes way back. She doesn't need any education because she's in the inner circle, so to speak. She's known the Diaz family for 30 years. I love Diamond Ranch Academy's approach to life as far as having the look and feel of a high school, yet have all of the therapy that's needed like a residential treatment center there every day. That makes us special. And I don't even know what this lead is. I think she's also an admission. Okay, so we have another Diaz family member. Riley. She's the weekend director. But Riley does not have a medical license, or is she a licensed mental health professional. She's the weekend director, no education, no nothing.
Wow.
Then we have Sean Elsmore. He comes up later. So Sean is not a licensed educator in Utah. He is an academic para-pro. That's his title. I think that means an academic paraprofessional, or a teacher's aide. So he graduated from Centennial High School in 2004. He went to the Community College of Southern Nevada, and he went to Dixie State University, and he went to Western Governors University. Didn't get any degrees. Sean Elsmore was going to 2 different universities at the same time. He was working this whole time, too, at Diamond Ranch Academy. Okay, so he was a customer service rep at U-Haul. It looks like he was there for about a year, and then he started working at Diamond Ranch Academy in February 2007. He's an admissions counselor from 2011 to the present. But again, he's just another one of those cases, like, he doesn't have any background whatsoever in being the kind of person you want to be an admissions counselor at a school. So, okay. Coming to the end of admissions, these are all admissions people. So then we have a guy named Troy Spray. He's titled a Parent Communication Director. So I guess this is the guy that does all the talking with the moms and the dads.
Right.
So Troy Spray is not a licensed mental health nor medical professional in Utah. He graduated from Diamond High in 1991. He took computer information science at American River College in Sacramento, California. Looks like he just took courses there. His work experience is that he looks like he was a certified mortgage broker. Then he became the head development staff at Diamond Ranch Academy. Then became staff supervisor. And now he's an assistant campus director. So he's up there. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all of the admissions staff. And now we get into the doctorate or master's level therapists. What's interesting about their staff and is that it looks like they moved around a lot from facility to facility.
This has been the V2V Podcast Survivor Series, Diamond Ranch Academy. Stay tuned for Part 5, Clinical Staff. And as always, thanks for watching.